Create. Creating the life you want with Fran Sydney. Hello everyone and welcome to the show. This is Create with Franz, and today we are going to talk about anxiety. This is episode 36 and we're going towards spring. Yet I hear from a lot of people that a big problem in their life is anxiety. I'm not talking just about mothers with children or young people at school. I'm talking about CEOs, I'm talking about lawyers, busy women entrepreneurs, I'm talking about undertakers, people working in hospitals. Anxiety can affect anyone and everyone depending on a lot of circumstances that are around you, and also on how your mind is playing with everything, is juggling all this thinking, positive thinking, negative thinking, and everything in between. So let's dive in. You might remember that we have talked before about anxiety, and I have recently been doing a lot of talking to people and asking, how is anxiety affecting your life? What is anxiety costing you? What is the toll in your life? And I had some very interesting conversations, very much eye-opening. I don't know if you agree, but there are a lot of people, men and women, but surprisingly a lot of women, who are now very, very anxious when driving the car. Now, it is obvious that some people are just anxious per se, so whatever they do, they'll be anxious in the car, but some people are good somewhere else, but not in the car. Maybe they had an accident in the past, or the person that was doing most of the driving was quite reckless, so they have memories of fearing or having an accident. And that is okay. It does happen, and we have to decide at a certain point what we're going to do about this fear. Are we going to let this fear affect us? What was very interesting is that a lot of women that I talked to said that they completely avoid very busy roads, intersections, motorways. That means a lot of trips you can do, and especially people who like traveling, who like going to see other people in another city, or even going for holidays and properly, trying a new place and a new way of driving, that can be really affecting them because they can't enjoy it. Either they are absolutely suffering while in the car, or they don't go at all because they think, oh no, I'm going to have an accident, or I'm going to just feel terrible. And one thing that a lot of people say is my anxiety. And this is a little tip I'm going to give you today, because our mind listens very carefully to what we say. And when we say my anxiety, my cancer, my migraine, we are giving it too much attachment. And then if it's mine, how can you get rid of it later on? So be careful of the words you use. So back to the driving thing, it is possible that you can actually tackle this quite simply. Sometimes we are very worried about driving because we are simply not experienced enough in a certain types of road. So we have to really get on and say to ourselves, all right, let's go with a friend who maybe is a better driver, and maybe revise together the signs, the signature on the road, what to do, who has the right to go. Because let's say a lot of adults, they have studied for the exam for the driving license 20 years ago, 40 years ago. They haven't reviewed anything since then. Things have changed. And so they feel a little bit fearful. And you can see that because you arrive to a roundabout or intersection, and these people are actually not sure if they're stopping or going. So they keep coming and stopping, and they give all this false signal to people, and therefore they are more likely to cause a crash. And so if that is the case, it's very simple. All you need to do is get into driving again, get some friends, have some feedback. But if you're too fearful, here in England we have the Association of Advanced Drivers, and I've done a course with them because I was feeling a little bit worried about going to the motorway myself. And then I thought, well, why is that? Well, because I had stopped going to busy roads. I was always just in my town. And I have to say, after doing loads of drives with an instructor, reminding you what you have studied in the manual, etc., I now tackle the roads with much more confidence. I feel like I really enjoy driving. I even managed, just before passing my exam as an advanced driver 3 years ago, I managed to go and drive in the States an automatic car, which is not something I'm used to here. And I went to completely new places and drove for hours, and there was no problem. And I had, 7 lanes, so people going really fast around me. It was not a problem. And why? Because I had tackled the root of a problem. And in my case, the root was simply that although I never had an accident, we were never involved in an accident as a family or with any other driver that was in my car, but very much I needed just to revise how things work and make sure that I was planning my position, my speed, my gear, my acceleration, and where I was. So really understanding the lines on the road and everything. And that helps you so much to feel, oh, I can do this. And, the majority of drivers that are very anxious can really, really improve by doing one of these courses. I'm just going to tell you, and as a disclaimer, I'm not getting any money just to tell you this. It's just an experience that I had, and I wanted to share with you. There are, sadly, opportunities where we could go and we don't go because a lot of thoughts come to our mind and they stop us from doing this driving or even cycling. And so we want to find out what is the root cause of that. And sometimes just a chat with somebody can remind you what happened, and maybe you can really make sense of this. Other times it's a deeper thing, even a little bit of trauma or a really bad memory that is embedded in you for something completely different. And this is where hypnosis comes really useful, because by talking to the subconscious mind, you can reach that area that is triggering the anxiety. Because the anxiety is not a logical mind action, is really subconscious. It's telling you, whoa, stop there, I'm going to protect you from. And what is it? So you can find out what is the problem and where it comes from just by having a single session with hypnosis and find out where is the reason and how you can absolutely rewire your brain and have a completely different response when you have the same trigger. So this is amazing. But there are other things that can happen when we have anxiety. Let's have a look. Another common response that I found in people when they were asked how is anxiety affecting your life was that they felt that they were not able to express themselves and say what they really wanted because they were always worried that something bad will happen to them. And this is really sad. So there are people even in very high up positions that do not have the courage to talk to the manager above them or to the director of a company or whatever, whoever is in charge. They do not have the courage to talk to them because maybe this person is, quite close to communication, or they think they are the best and nobody can talk to them. I don't know. But it's just an internal dialogue. So they see that everyone else is talking to this person, but they themselves, they just can't. They arrive to the door and they walk back. They just do not have the stamina to go there because suddenly they have jelly legs and they have this inability to talk. We have mentioned this, but isn't that amazing how widespread this is? So it is important, if we are running a business, if we have people working for us, it is important to let them know that they are valued, they are appreciated, and give them something, give them a perk, give them a token to let them know, well, you are a loyal worker, we appreciate, we are so glad you are with us. For some people, this is really hard to say because they're not used to it. So why not then send a card or make an email, a very fun email, like humorous or whatever. Just find your way. Or if not, to give them a raise. Maybe that's what people need sometimes, to be appreciated. And give a couple of days off and just pay them for a luxury meal or a spa. Because people really need to be appreciated and to know that you value their work. How does that change their productivity at work? It changes in a huge way, because now they not only like the money and they like the job that they do, but they like the boss. And I think that's, you have 3 reasons why you stay in a job. And if you don't like the boss, pretty much sooner or later you are going to plan to go somewhere else. So when you see people that have a really high turnover in their company, always ask yourself, is the pay good? Is the job good? Is the boss good? And if a situation is not very nice, people will go away, and then you have to go and retrain other people because you can't make the effort of being nice and kind and allow people to express themselves. And then you can agree to disagree. Maybe it's not the time for a raise, but you can do something else for them. So make sure the people are able to say what they want without risking to be fired or to be treated in a different way. Because, we are in a free society, and we have to understand that what we do at the workplace or in the workplace does affect the mental health of everyone else. Even if it's not in the office, maybe it's happening on Zoom. So remember that just because you are working remotely, this doesn't make it any better for other people. They need to be able to express their view and to come up with ideas without being put down. So anxiety can be determined very simply by this non-encouraging environment. There are other occasions where anxiety is not really there because the boss is not good. Actually, the boss is really good and everyone is very good, but the person has anxiety nevertheless. And so that's the point where you go back to a therapist and you go and find out why you are like that, why you think you cannot express yourself. Ask yourself, sit for a minute and say, well, okay, if I talk to Jenny about this problem I have with a coworker, what is the worst thing that can possibly happen? And then listen to your subconscious mind, just giving you the little voice, a little reply. What is going on? Am I going to lose my power? Am I going to lose my ability to work in this office? Is the boss going to be acid with me? Am I going to be ill if I talk to this person? Is the floor opening up and I'm going to fall inside and I will want to be buried 5 feet underground? Chances are that if you have these deep fears, despite having a very good and welcoming work environment, maybe something is buried there in your mind that has happened many, many years ago, even when you were a child. Or maybe when you went to school or to university, you were giving a presentation, you were put on the spot, maybe somebody made you feel like you were a fool. Whatever that is, somebody putting you down. And this is very, very typical of people who are victim of narcissistic abuse. So people who have been married or have been working for a narcissist, they do come up with really strong anxiety. So I do recommend to go to a specialist for trauma and for narcissist behavior problems, because they will really help you to regain your confidence in yourself and knowing that you are special, you are loved, you are smart, and this is all being taken away by these nasty comments and bad cold shoulders that you had for so many years. So relief is at hand. Don't give up. Don't just, oh well, I'm gonna have antidepressants or calming things all my life. You can't just live on pills. It is way better to tackle the root of a problem. Sometimes it happens that although your husband or wife or mom or dad, they're not narcissistic, but they're very simply very authoritative. Maybe they have 2 degrees and you have a high school diploma. Maybe they are way higher than you socially. They were very, very wealthy and you were not wealthy. There is a disparity somewhere. These people, maybe they are very accomplished, very academic, and you are not. And so when they talk, they seem to talk with anxiety on your side. Basically, whatever they say, you just feel worse and worse because they seem to know it all. They're very prepared and they're just going to destroy all your arguments completely and absolutely. So you don't stand a chance to ever discuss where you're going to go on holiday, what you're going to eat for dinner, because this person will win every single every single argument by putting you down and cutting you down and just telling you you're not clever enough. And you may think, Franz, you are exaggerating. There is no such thing. Well, actually there is, because when you go around asking people what is anxiety costing you, there are a lot of women that say, well, the big thing for me is living a negative relationship and developing the life that I really want. And they can't leave this relationship. Can you believe it? So they're there. They are submitted to all these maybe abuse, verbal abuse, or maybe just being put down all the time and being taken like an idiot all the time, being unable to express themselves, but they're still there because they think, well, I can't go anywhere else, I cannot support myself, I cannot do anything on my own, I depend completely. It's a symbiosis, and it's really a sadomaso, mentally speaking, relationship, because you are kind of with a Stockholm syndrome, right? You have this person there that is hurting you by the way they treat you, not demonstrating respect for your opinion, and yet you remain. So what is making you think that you are not worth of respect? Ask yourself this question, and then go and seek for a therapist. You might find out that, of course, this has happened before and you accepted it. Maybe you grew up in a family where, maybe, I don't know, women perhaps were told to be quiet and not talk, and men, they were more important than women. Or maybe you were in a society where all children have to just be quiet, not be seen, not being heard. And this is what happened to many of my clients. So they grew up thinking, I cannot express myself, and they had 1, 2, 3 divorces until they learned that first they had to heal, and then they were able to create a wonderful, peaceful and balanced relationship where they could express themselves. Another aspect that I realized by interviewing people is that a lot of women find it very difficult to be assertive, maybe at home, maybe at work. And they realize they are people pleasers. They struggle with this idea that they have to make everyone happy. And so their own opinion doesn't really matter because everyone else has to be happy, otherwise they become really anxious, they can't cope. So this is another example where we are going beyond the due respect that we should offer to other people. Of course, it's good to listen, to be respectful of others, but so we should also receive that from other people. Maybe we have a heated discussion about something, but at least we were able to get our opinion out, and then later on be calmer and say, okay, you have this opinion, I have another opinion, let's agree to disagree. You can still be friends. You do not need to divorce or to change a job just because you don't agree on one thing. It doesn't matter. But the important thing is to be able to talk, and then sometimes people will not accept your idea, but maybe they will warm up to it later on, after it's been boiling a little bit in their mind. I don't think that boiling is the correct word, but give it the time to fertilize the soil. There is also another category of anxiety sufferers who are very, very worried about socializing and about creating friendships. They are so anxious that they don't even go to approach a person, to talk to this person, maybe for a date, or maybe just because they share a hobby or something, or maybe because they are in a group of work, or maybe a group of study at university, and they have to collaborate together, but they find it really difficult to work with them. And I remember from the days when my son was in high school, he was telling me some students get on really well with others, but sometimes you get put in pair with another one that doesn't really talk to you. Maybe he's very shy or whatever, and so you allow yourself to be very vulnerable if you are pushing yourself and talking to these people. And some people just do not have a confidence, and then they remain quiet, and then the teacher tells them off. And so it's a bit of a vicious circle. And we have to realize everyone is scared about meeting new people. Everyone is a bit worried about what people will think about them. But so if you take the first step and just smile, or just ask what's the time, or make a comment about the bus being late or whatever, maybe you can break the ice, and you will see that all the other people have exactly the same issue. They are worried about how they're going to be perceived, and how they're going to be judged, and how they're going to be rejected. So this is a problem that affects most people. The problem is when this is affecting every day of your life, when you cannot have new friends, when you cannot go and socialize, when you're terrified of going outside and you become a recluse in your own home. Now we are in times of COVID, so there is a pandemic and worldwide there are lots of restrictions, and here in England we are still in lockdown. This means that a lot of people pretty much have not been out of the house apart from shopping for food since the 7th of November. And before that we also had pretty much the whole year of 3 months of lockdown and several months of lots of restrictions. So this has raised the anxiety to very, very high levels. So if a person was already worried before, now has the habit of staying at home and not meeting anyone else. And we really have to prepare for June, when the government will apparently and hopefully lift all the restrictions and allow us to live a normal so-called life. We have to practice talking to people, approaching them, and just be friendly to people, because if we don't, we're just going to be like little sealed boxes that can't communicate with others, and all we can do is text people. So make sure you make a really extra effort as spring comes forward, as the lockdown eases up, to reach people, make a phone call, make a little video, send a card, and then actually talk to people face to face. I promise they are not going to bark. They are not going to bite you. And chances are that they are exactly like you. They are a little bit worried about familiarizing themselves with anyone else and about socializing and meeting new people. And God knows how much we all need to be out and about, to meet new people, to be in the fresh air. But it starts with our mind. So my final thing is, before the episode closes, to really make an effort to look after your mental health. Because if you don't do it, no one else will, Nobody else is inside your mind looking at your nightmares, your panic attacks, and everything else. So you have the duty to look after yourself. And if you think that it's very difficult, if you think that this is not possible, then that's the time to really seek for a therapist to help you to love yourself, to accept yourself as you are, and yet to stretch you to the best that you can do. Because, we are not meant to be loners sitting in a house the whole day without ever meeting a human being. We're all supposed to interact with other people, to hug, to kiss, to talk, to express opinions, to have concerts, listen to music, and do all sorts of beautiful things like traveling, and that they make their life worth living. So let's start with looking inside ourselves and making a promise to really reach to other people. Instead of just reaching to others, as some people do on social media, to tear them down, to destroy them, to make false accusations, and to call them all sorts of names and labels that have been on social media, and they're really offensive. There is no point, just because somebody does not have your opinion, there is no point in destroying them. Maybe they could even be right and you are wrong, but the thing is, let's learn how to be able to conduct a conversation without destroying other people and without having a panic attack. There has to be a medium, a perfect way, a perfect balanced way, when we are absolutely honest and absolutely kind and frank at the same time. I hope that we can all reach a nice level of mental healthness and real well-being, where we are happy with who we are, where we're going, and what we're doing in our life. And I thank you so much for being with me with this special anxiety episode, because I do know that all sorts of people in all walks of life need some help nowadays to overcome this problem. So feel free to reach out for any questions about hypnosis and how it can help you to overcome anxiety. So thank you so much for being with me today. And this was episode 36. And of course, remember, if you want to look up some articles or contact me, you can go to France Sydney on Facebook, or go to www.francesydney.com. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. You have listened to Creating the Life You Want with France Sydney.